queued up where the lobby is open, the mics are hot, and nobody's dodging. Joining us in the lobby today, the one and only Michael Tumbleweed Kepley, Davis Tadlock Tad, and last but certainly not least, Chris PartyFoul Celecia. Today, we're talking around the league. We're going to invest into Call of Duty Major 3. Are the Heretics going to continue their reign of terror? And has the green wall fallen at this point? Then we're going to look at League of Legends and look at Peanut. He's got his 500th win. And from there, we're going to go to Valorant. We're going to look at the season finals. Is NRG going to take down Leviathan, or can Demon 1 carry them to make the playoffs? Then we'll invest in some pick'ems. We're going to look at the matches around the league. Everybody will get to pick. You can throw down in the comments right there. Let us know what teams you want to see win those matches. And then we'll go to Clutch or Kick, where we pick our favorite community votes. Clutch it or kick it. But let's start. IEM Melbourne. The groups are out. Group A, Group B. Let's look at them real quick. Group A is Mouse, Big, Gamer Legion, 3D Max, FaZe Clan, Pain Gaming, Complexity, and our favorite, the Mongols.
I mean, there's two
our
huge
favorite.
things I
Okay,
think need
maybe
to be
just
improved.
Kepley's favorite.
I think the
a lot
league
of us like them.
equipment needs to
And
be
then
improved,
Group B,
bro. Like,
Vitality,
they're on fucking
FlyQuest, Virtus Pro, Team
ancient-ass
Liquid,
computers at this
Team
point.
Falcons,
I don't
Saw,
care what anyone
MRB,
says.
and
Since
Virtus,
Cold War, how many years
not
is that
Virtus
since
Pro.
Cold War?
Yeah,
however many.
No, Navi. Okay, let's break down these groups. Group A, we have, I think the two top runners on this side, Kep, are Maus and Mongols. Do you think that will end up being the upper bracket final on that side? And is that the match you want to see? And can the Mongols win it?
That is the matchup I want to see. Can they win it? I'm not sure, because Mouse has looked really good lately.
Yeah.
Now, still, according to the Valve rankings, I just learned this earlier today, Mongols is ranked number 4, Mouse ranked number 2. So Mongols theoretically should be able to compete very well in this group, especially against someone like Complexity. But Complexity, they're coming off like a really maybe performing over expectations, right, at the most recent event. So hopefully Complexities can show some light there, give NA a little bit of hope. But Mongols, I'm always going to pick Mongols to go far, but Mouse is probably too big of a hill to climb right now.
I think you're probably rooting for a Complexity loss against Mongols and then a lower bracket run for Complexity in the perfect world.
Yeah.
Davis, FaZe.
I don't know. I'm honestly not really focused on FaZe. The team I'm focused on is Complexity, actually, the team that you were just talking.
Sure.
I do think FaZe had a really good tournament, coming 3 in this last event. They have some momentum building into this. I don't really think anybody saw them playing as good as they did in the last one. So confident in them. I'm actually thinking, for me, I do know Mongols, like you said, is the 5th ranked team, but I just haven't seen it from them recently. Personally, I think they've been on a little slump. So the team that I'm looking at behind Mouse is FaZe, and then Complexity, then Mongols.
You put Mongols 4th?
I do.
Disrespect.
Oh my God. I mean, he's not wrong in the fact that they haven't really been performing when they needed to. Like, they are a top 4 team, and they do look good, but they don't close out the games.
Yeah, that's true. They are in a slump, but I
there's two
think
huge things I think need to be improved.
Much needed.
I think the league equipment needs to be improved, bro. Like, they're on
absolutely. Okay, let's look at the other side, Group B. Coming to you, Chris. That side of it looks like it's going to be the test for Falcons. Will the Falcons show up with Monacy for the first time and be able to take down Vitality is the question.
Take down Vitality, I don't see it just yet. I do see them getting to that upper finals, though. Yeah. I think Honeymoon, they could most likely take it over Navi, who's probably who they would meet on their side, take it really close, probably in a full 3 games of the best of 3, and then maybe lose out 2-1 against Vitality, in that Grant upper finals match.
Interesting. Anybody taking Falcons over Vitality if they get there?
No shot.
Not yet.
No shot.
Maybe one day, but not yet.
Not yet?
I don't think they have enough time.
I think they will. I think they'll give them a run for their money. I think Vitality, I don't actually know if these series are these are probably best of 3s.
3s, yeah.
But the best of 5 that Vitality played against Mouse is like, they lost 2 maps, right? The Mirage, and I believe it was the Nuke is the second one. Could be another map. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. But ultimately, it's like, I do think Vitality has some depth in their map pool, or is lacking some depth in their map pool. So we'll see. I think if Falcons get there, they're going to have a shot against them, which will be a very interesting kind of changing up our leaderboard.
So just to dial that back,
yep.
The same Falcons that on Monday you just said with Monacy on the roster wasn't that big of a change. You're now thinking that change is going to put them better than the number 1 team in the world?
I am saying that there's a chance. I don't know, but from the eye test, it's possible.
Yeah.
Now, it's also possible that it's not close at all. But I'm saying that I think they have a shot. I'm not saying that I think that they're going to dominate Vitality. I don't think they show up and become a clear number one. But I think there is a shot.
And I kind of think, in my opinion, I think we'll be able
Kick that.
I think we'll be able to tell very early on, because with them being on opposite sides of the bracket, I think, Falcons can really build some steam, build some confidence through their first two matchups. And, when they arrive at that moment, they might be ready by then, but we'll see.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know either. We're going to find out. Okay, cool. On to the next. We're looking at Valorant. So the question for the group that I have here is, who are the top 3 teams in NA right now for Valorant? Go ahead, Davis.
So for me, I think there's no question in the top 2. My top 2 are G2 and MIBR. I see them, honestly, clearly ahead of the rest of the competition. I think they've been rolling, especially G2, really well-rounded. MIBR, I do have them ranked 2nd. My 3rd team, though, is Sentinels. I do think they'll be the other team to really watch out for that gets into Masters. I think it's really close between them and a few other teams, but I think just the fan base that they have and the momentum that they'll get from that, I think they will be the team that prevails in the end.
There you go. Chris?
I have same G2 in my BR, but I switched it up with Cloud9, so I think Cloud9 is sitting in that 3rd place spot. I think a lot we're going to see this weekend, though, when they face off. So when Cloud9, if they can prove themselves this weekend, we'll see if maybe they can keep that 3rd place spot, or if maybe does go to Sentinels, because they have looked good also.
Okay, I'm going to go next, then I'm coming to you, Kep. I like G2. I like Crew. I think Crew, even though they did have that loss and they are coming off of a loss, we'll see how they play against 100 Thieves. I think they're going to beat 100 Thieves this weekend. I think they will be the number 1 on that side. And then I would go for number 3, probably the MIBRs. I'm with you guys on the MIBR side. I think that those guys are on the train, but I would take Crew over the others. So
I'm going G2, number 1.
Sure.
So we share that around the board.
That's right, G2.
Number 2 for me, even though I doubted them last week in my pick, MIBR, I'm slotting in there because they looked really good there.
Yep.
And then number 3, I put 100 Thieves because I think 100 Thieves is going to beat Crew. I think the honeymoon phase for Crew is over. No one expected Crew to be number 1, and I think we're going to start to see that.
Huh. Yeah, I guess as we look back, and obviously this weekend has big implications for the playoffs for Valorant. I think the one question that we are looking at is Leviathan going to beat NRG, or is it going to be backwards one way or the other? We're going to look at that later in our pick'ems.
Leviathan.
Sorry, what did I say?
Leviathan.
Oh, sorry. Leviathan.
I got you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Viewer. Okay, I apologize. It's on me. That one's on me. Leviathan, NRG. It will be the match. And we'll look at that later in our pick'ems. They're actually going to pick those matches, so we'll know who you guys think. And we can talk a little bit about that one. Ultimately, it comes down to, is Demon 1 going to be able to perform for Leviathan?
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows?
It's kind of weird, right? A part of me wanted to pick Leviathan, right? But their back's against the wall right now. I think, we'll talk more about the picks later, but I argue that they might not even make it out of groups here, right? But you kind of expect that to be the number 2 team. So MIBR definitely looking good coming in there. But Demon 1, it'd be weird if he didn't progress through and we don't see him in a playoff scenario.
I agree. He's a truly talented player, and it would be really weird for him to not be in a playoff setting.
Yeah.
And I think what we talked about last week about him not being on a roster that's competing, if they don't make it, he will be switching.
We'll see. Who knows? All right, switching gears, going to League of Legends. I'm coming to you first, Chris. Mr. Peanut, get the 500 win mark. What does this mean to you?
A lot. I mean, 2nd player to do it outside of Faker. Faker having reached his 1,000th game played, but has, a massive win rate, over 50%. Peanut, though, 1st player to do it in the jungle role, but he has 1,101 games played so far in the LCK. Massive number, only 500 now. The big thing to me is, does this make him a top 3 player in LCK with all the talent that is there? We have Zeus, we have Showmaker, we have Chovy, all these players throughout the history. Would he be considered a top 3 player? And I think within the LCK just itself, I do, with the amount of accolades he has.
I want to speak the same.
Hold it up here.
The kick segment keeps coming back.
I'll just wait. I like having the signs here. I'm sorry. Just keep pulling them out.
I'm going to agree with you, Chris, just because also I don't really know a whole lot of the in-depth, if this player is better statistically than this other guy, but Peanut's been around and he's won a ton. He's a guy that I recognize his name for sure when anytime League comes up. And so I think he definitely makes it into the top 3 with his statistic.
I don't know. It's I think what's interesting about this conversation is the fact that it's so role driven, right? Because when I look at a support, like obviously a support can make a huge play, but like you don't see a lot of supports within this conversation that have a high win rate because a lot of times they get paired with, their ADC, and that is the determining factor for them or the team that's surrounding them.
Give Akiri a little time, and I think he's gonna start proving himself to be up there soon. But
it's just one of these things where it's like when you look at the role, it's like the jungle compared to the mid, and we were talking about this before. It's like, can you compare those two things, or are they just in separate conversations as far as like top 3 players? I think jungles make a huge impact on the game. So like Peanut has made a name for himself in making a very large impact. But I just don't know if it's like, how do I compare that to the GOAT Faker? It's like it's definitely far away, and it's also one of those things where I think the accolades of 500 wins is very impressive at the same time. So
yeah, I don't want to disrespect him. He's earned his merits, right? He gets his trophies. Everyone should think Peanut's a great player because he is. But to be top 3 in a world where you haven't had as many world championships as Bengi, right?
Yeah,
you're looking at even let's remove the world championship from the conversation, right? Let's just talk about players that have impacted everyone across the globe. Mata for support. Mad Life revolutionized the game, right? You start going to mid lane, you're starting to look at Rookie, starting to look at Chovy. I always get some of the LPL players and the LCK mixed up because they'll go back and forth. But there's so many names there that just because you have 500 wins, like, yeah, it's a great achievement, but what have you done with those 500 wins? The highlight of his career is the Coup Tigers in New York here in America upsetting SKT1. That's the highlight of his career. Right? It's not even like that he's a playmaker. It's that the big pick there, Zyra's support, right? It wasn't Peanut in that game. Peanut revolutionized the least support. He's very aggressive play style, but even on his own team, he didn't make the highlights against the #1 team in the world, SKT, which has the top 5 players in the world all the time.
What about just LCK though? Taking the world out of it and every other like world.
Well, he can't be top 3 because SKT has 5 players.
Just in LCK as LCK player though.
Right, that's the same point. He can't be top. Okay. He can't be top 3 because SKT has 5 players.
I don't know if all the SKT players have really made top 3 yet, though.
I would put
to me, it would only be Faker and Zeus.
The greatest top laner that North America had for a long time, even though I rag on him now, Impact, where'd he come from? SKT. SKT makes great players. Reckless now in Los Ratones. He got legendary because he went there and got a world ring with SKT.
I don't know if they're top 3 in LCK though.
We'll have to debate.
In world, maybe yes.
Maybe you and I will roll up the hard stuck with Nick.
Yeah, you both need to go on hard stuck.
Yeah, we'll go on hard stuck and we'll throw down.
It is interesting as we kind of like, because we framing the conversation as like, is it a team environment that we're talking about? Who has the most world championships? And like, in a lot of ways, like I think there are players that have impacted that in huge ways, but they don't have 500 wins, right? And so it's like definitely a different stat that we're talking about.
It's just super hard to measure impact.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you said earlier with the roles, it's super like he's not making flashy plays like maybe an assassin mid laner would. It's like just executing you. Maybe his play is a little bit more methodical and slow, but it still might impact the game just as much.
Well, yeah, and that's really the problem with the statement here is the phrasing of the question. Is Peanut a top 3 player in LCK? I would argue no, because most people give #1 to Faker by default. So that's one spot gone. And then there's another camp of people who argue that Rookie is #1 player. So you're putting Rookie there #1, #2. So Peanut's got one spot to try to fight for against all this other talent and being #3. He's just not, I don't think he's in that conversation because of lack of accolades. Bengi, who hasn't, he's still active in like the lower scenes, but Bengi himself has more championship trophies with Faker than Peanut has, right? So by default, Bengi and my caliber, top 3 of all time, more worlds, Bengi beats him out. So that's your third slot right there.
Good argument.
As we said, we have 2 different views on it. Mine is just impact within LCK, regular season tournaments through it, and then excluding all worlds, like do players look up to him within LCK? And then we have, worlds players. So of course, as I said, I wouldn't put him in top 3 in world, of all time, but LCK.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, let us know what you think downstairs in the comments. Throw it down there. Is Peanut top 3 in the LCK? Make sure you tag Mr. Tumbleweed when you make that comment so that he can yell at you.
Exactly. I'll correct you.
Chris, give us the overview of the next topic, Spirit Blossom preview. We got some changes coming in. It's going to affect the league. I want to understand what these changes are. Give them to me.
Yeah, so the big ones I think that are impacting the competitive scene is that they are getting rid of the Victorious and Rudeness icon. They're replacing it with Thornbound, which will now just be the petals come out, they get buffed. If you get it, they're 25% more effective on the whole entire team. So of course you're losing that withdrawal that you get from the Rudeness icon, which was a game changer. You know, when that came out, people would get it, instantly be aggressive. If it was top lane and it's past the 25-minute mark or at the 25-minute mark, they instantly do Baron because, well, if they die, they just get withdrawn and you keep the buff if you get it, right? If it's bottom lane, maybe they just push, do something, you know, get a fight, and we see that a lot. The Voracious, I think it was Voracious. Voracious Otacon, you know, gave the petals and it was taken, but not as much. You know, there was actually a game this weekend where Team Heretics and KC were playing, and Team Heretics ended up getting the Otacon, but it was the one with the petals. Then they got wiped by KC. So it didn't matter if they got it at that point. So what's the point? They take a lot of damage, get wiped, KC come back, win the game. So now we're seeing a Otacon where it's being changed. We'll have to see how it helps or hurts. You know, maybe it's just something that they don't care about because they don't get that withdrawal anymore. So they just leave it alone unless they're in a really safe spot. So we'll have to see they play that out. Moving on from that, Void Grubs are now only spawning once, so you can only get 3. Less oppressive in the lane. Shelly, the Rift Herald, is spawning later in the game as well, so it's not as oppressive, getting that damage done to the turrets. And then of what I've seen, there was no change to Baron, so that's still spawning at 25 minutes. So now Shelly's spawning a little bit late, or at 15 minutes. So now you have that 10-minute gap between Rift Herald and the Baron now as well. So these are big changes. To me, it really feels like they're doing this so they can keep those what we call traditional lanes, 2 at the bot, 1 in the middle, 1 up top, 1 in the jungle, keeping that for longer, because we'd see still after the 4-minute and 30-minute mark, we'd see possible swaps, lane swaps from the bot lane to the top lane to possibly try and contest those Void Grubs, since you want to try to get 6 because they give you so much pushing power. Now without that, Dragon is going to be the main point of contention again for Epic Monsters early in the game, and so we'll most likely see that bottom lane stay there because they don't really run teleport. So why would they move across the map when that's coming up and needs to be contested?
Yeah, Cap, what do you feel that they are trying to do as far as the team fights? Because it seems like, and I watched a little bit of Ty this week with Chris, it seemed like there were a lot of fights that were happening around the Otacons that were pretty game-changing.
Yeah, I assume that Otacon is keeping the AoE circle around it that'll shred your defenses, so a lot of team fights happen there because you can lose up to 50 flat armor and MR when you're trying to hold Otacon, right? You're trying to get him low and teams will prep there, so there's a lot of pressure. I think we'll see more fights around it. So one thing, and sorry if I missed you say this, but one thing that will add a lot of value to this is not only do you get that 25% buff from your petals, but also in your team fights from then on, any player that you kill, it does an AoE explosion and slow around, which will make it so players can't escape as well. So I think that because of that extra innate team fight power you get, you blow up one support that's trying to initiate, does a little splash damage. Yeah. I think people are going to really hone in on that a little bit, but it's still not going to carry the same weight, really, in my opinion, as a Baron or like an Elder Dragon. But it's nice. I'm a fan of traditional lanes. I think it's when you start to see how good teams really are. A lot of teams, and I hate to always rag on them, but like Impact as an example in Liquid, Impact was really good at lane swaps. So he, we could hide some of his weaknesses. It didn't matter if he had 0 farm or 100 farm, right? He's kind of the same player. He could play tanks. He knows how to play tanks from behind. That was his strength. So them trying to get more back to the good parts of League, right, that we had before the era of lane swaps, because it's been around a long time. Yeah. All right, we'll start to see a lot more skirmishes. We'll get to actually see bot lanes match up. Yeah. And then you're really actually picking your team for what can your bot lane do 2v2, not what can you do for 1v2. Yeah. Right. And then your coach's flaws are more blaring if you have a bad draft, et cetera, et cetera. I could rant on that for a little bit.
Interesting. Chris, any thoughts? Not Chris. Davis, any thoughts on Spirit Boston?
I think it's good changes. The one thing that I like the most is the Void Grubs only spawning 1 time now, because through me playing, I mean, I really thought that getting 6 Void Grubs was so advantageous and you had so much pushing power. I do like the fact that they're toning it back to only 1, making the Rift Herald spawn a little bit longer. I think, like you said, we'll be able to see a lot more mechanics from these players, going 1-on-1, going 2-on-2, maybe in the bot lane. Yeah, I think it's a good change. I don't really like whenever they all convene at 5 minutes and fight for Void Grubs, and it's like a 5-on-5. We just started the game.
It slows down junglers too, right? Just to touch on it, because a lot of people may not be aware of that. So like if you, as a jungler, if you full clear your camp, there's a lot of value in the little rift scuttles in the river. Yeah. And so if you were able to take both of those off of one full set of Void Grubs, you would get level 6 as a jungler. So it will force the jungler to go back to their jungle and start pathing to get that level 6 now, instead of a situation where, and it is kind of rare in pro play, but if you go and get both scuttles, as soon as you got that 6 grub, you were level 6 over your opponent, and there can be a big impact swing on that. So pushing that spawn back later innately slows the jungler down a little bit. So you'll probably see some more farm sits and jungles get more popular there too.
Interesting. Oh, we'll see. Any closing comments for us, Chris?
Nope. Just besides the fact that I do think it's gonna be funny that Shelly does have more unavoidable damage, so it's gonna be easier for her to deal damage now. That's the Rift Herald Shelly, and so it'll be interesting to see. So that may mean we don't see as many like solos by the junglers to try to get that Rift Herald. Sometimes they would just try to solo it and get it. So I'm gonna be interested to see how that runs out. And as I said, I'm gonna be really happy to see more fights centered around specific, not them splitting over. Just gonna trade 1-for-1 epic monster. We're gonna see if they force and try to fight over them, depending on which ones spawn.
Sure. When will this go live for all of the games, Chris?
It should be, I believe, next patch 14.3.
So we'll see this. This is upcoming, so it's not going to be right now, but in the future you'll start to see these changes come in, and we'll talk about how it's impacting the game along with Fearless and other things that are going on. But an exciting time for League of Legends. All the updates coming through. The game is changing, and we love that, right? The meta changes. Everyone's got to adjust. Cool. All right, going on to the next topic, Call of Duty. If you can, production, show us the tweet. The big news of the week, the one and only Mr. Dillion Rex is going to join the Carolina Royal Ravens. He will be here. That is not the right one. That is not the right one. That is not the right one. That's the right one. Welcome to the team. Okay, cool. Dillion Rex. Davis, give me a thought on this guy. Obviously, you know him from your own experience. So.
Yeah, so I played against him in the CCL for quite a while, and I've seen his name in Challengers now for a few years. Honestly, really surprising to me that it's been this long for him to get an opportunity to finally break into the league. I'm really pulling for him. His hometown team for us, so big Carolina Royal Ravens fan. Hoping that he can jump in and find a spot in the league because I think he truly deserves it. Like I said, he's been around for a long time. He's been a top player for a long time. It's kind of weird that he hasn't gotten his chance until now, but I'm pulling for him.
Is he a sub, AR? Like, what's his role?
He's an AR. Yeah, he'll run that AR for them for what was Vivid. I think this is an upgrade. I do think that this just changed that team. I don't know how much, though. Any thoughts?
It's still going to see how, Vivid's a great player. He's been a great player for a long time. I do think he's been on a decline, though, in these last couple games. So I think it was definitely time for them to make a switch. I'm a really big fan of getting a challenger kid that's really hungry and wants to prove that he deserves a spot in the league. So I think it's a great opportunity for him. Hope he does well.
Yeah.
That's my main feedback is I hear all the time, mainly from like Andy, right, over on Ty. He's been invested in the challenger scene for so long, so I'm so ignorant to it. But the narrative I keep hearing is, these challenger players should get more time to shine. And you have someone like Neptune, right, who just came up from Challengers. He's performing extremely well. Yeah. So same thing with Rex here. If Rex goes to start to shine, then maybe like if I'm Hex in Optic, like I'm calling up Challengers, right? Like what talent can we pull up? Because these teams that are looking bad, Gorillas, right? Gorillas doesn't look good. Maybe you just get 4 Challengers, right? Maybe there's a Challengers team. You just take all of them. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's talent there, right? It's just unproven talent in a lot of ways. And the league has changed. It's growing so much. And the fact that there are players that are retiring, people are not performing in different ways. So you have to give different opportunities to different folks, I think.
I think we're at that crossroads. Call of Duty's at that age now where there's still people that have been competing almost since the very beginning. And it's time for those guys to, start phasing out and new guys phasing in my opinion.
And sometimes you just got to phase up. And speaking of phase up, this has nothing to do with phase. It's actually Optic. They stopped their streaming of scrims. I don't know if you've been watching the Twitter sphere of Call of Duty, but ultimately one of the things that was a big deal is that there was a little tracker on who was winning the amount of scrims, Optic winning scrims, and then we were basing their performance off of that. But then when the matches were happening, it's like it's not even close to the same. They're playing the same game maybe, but it's not really an indicator of stuff. I think that the teams probably realize that this is an indicator of, hey, this is what our strategy is going into the map. And so we're not scrimming, I think maybe twofold because they don't want to show the record, and 2, because they don't want to show the strategies. But I'm curious what your thought is on it, Chris. Why are they not streaming the scrims anymore?
I mean, I agree with you. From what I've learned from Andy as well is that a lot of teams, or what I would hear in scrims, is that they would go into test a lot. So especially like FaZe, they would be like, what map rotation can we learn from this and everything like that. If you have Optic who are streaming scrims and maybe actually doing what they're trying to do, like what, practice what they're going to play, right? As you said, that gives, other teams the ability to look into what they're going to do, what maps they're going to play, what rotation they're going to look at. And then you have other teams who are just like, okay, well, we're just practicing, we suck at these maps. So let's try to, figure them out, but it may not be our exact rotation when we go to play someone else, right? And you start winning those and it's a false sense of, oh, they're doing well in scrims, but that's what are the other teams doing, right, at that point. So,
and it's not like Optic is doing bad in this
right.
split. They're kind of even at this point. I think they're an average roster right now with the addition of Skies and Hook going into there. I don't think they're performing at a high level and kind of a low level, but it is an interesting thought to say, hey, we're stopping scrimming things.
I think it's honestly kind of perfect, in my opinion, about how I think this whole navigating scrimming and for your team should work when you stream them. I kind of mentioned it in the last episode, how I think teams will, realize, hey, we're giving out a lot of strategies. But I think the way Optic have done it is great. They were streaming their scrims through the majority of their qualifier matches. Now they realize, okay, we're getting really close to this major. Let's tone it back. We'll develop some strats through these next few weeks that nobody's seen. We're not going to stream them, keep them behind closed doors, and then go. I think it still is really good that they're showing the viewers and the community, like, hey, this is what we're doing in the early stages. Hey, this is kind of what we do, how we do it, showing people how to learn themselves. But then when it comes down to crunch time, you can't be doing that before a major.
Absolutely. Yeah. Leaving the Optic topic behind a little bit as we go to the next one, which is the Heretics, right? Came out hot, have looked hot. They're 3-0 in the current major. They look really good. They took down a really good team this weekend of FaZe, right? And so ultimately it's like I look at them and I think, hey, where do they go in the top of the bracket now? Or is that too much of a leap? Do they still need to prove themselves on land? Kepley, what do you think?
I think everything in Call of Duty is about proving yourself on land. So I try not to be too much of a hater of online because, that's where we're at and that's going to be more sustainable for the esport as a whole. But yeah, I mean, Miami's got to prove themselves on land because I've said it before in previous episodes, FaZe online is a completely different FaZe than at LAN, right? So I don't know. They still have some to prove to me, but I do think that right now they look like a solid top 3 team. Easy.
You do. Chris, what do you think, Heretics?
I agree. As I said, like a lot of what I've heard, especially like teams like FaZe who are winning all the online qualifiers or winning all the online tournaments and don't really show up at LAN too much. We have to see someone, like Heretics who absolutely need to show up, in both. But LAN, it just seems like a different beast. You're in front of the people, all the trash talking starts, you're in front of the crowd, which can play a different part or role in it depending on where you are. If it's the hometown, maybe it can help or hurt. With Optic, you don't really do too much. But at the end of the day, they're off to Toronto, I believe, for this next one.
Miami, actually.
Miami,
so the
okay.
Heretics, they're going to play at home.
So they will play at home. So, but this would be the time that they would need to prove it then. But maybe those nerves come in and it shakes them up a little bit. You never know. We'll have to see. But after this LAN, I'll make a more informed decision.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think it's a small sample size, right? We have weekly online matches. They have played a couple good teams, but it's not like they've rolled through every team at this point, right? They're going to play the Ultra this weekend. I think that's going to be a good test. The Ultra is a top 3 team to me right now. I think that they've done really well, especially against the FaZes and the Surges of the world. So we'll see how they kind of compare against those guys. But I think they have moved up in the ratings for sure from where they were as the, number 8 on the leaderboard. So cool. All right. Going on to our next segment, we're going to talk pick'ems. We've got, how many matches is this? We've got 8 matches we're going to be able to roll through. We're going to start with Chris on my right here. And we're going to look at, first is a VCT match, which is going to be the highlight match of the weekend, in my opinion, because who's going to make the playoffs, Leviathan or NRG? Chris, you are up first.
I have Leviathan.
Leviathan! All right. Go ahead, Kepley. What you got?
I picked NRG, I'm pretty sure.
Whoa! NRG. Okay, cool. Davis.
Leviathan.
Leviathan. And I have NRG. Oh, we're doing all 3 at once, aren't we? Okay, I'll do the next 2 matches as well so we can do those on there. So our game let's do our games 2s and 3s as well, even though they are up on the screen already for you. But game 2, we have Crew versus 100 Thieves, and game 3 is G2 versus Cloud9. Looks like we all have G2, and the only person that picked 100 Thieves was Mr. Kepley himself.
I'm telling you, I don't know what you guys are smoking, man. Crew's honeymoon phase is over. 100 Thieves, just map count wise. I know the record's tied 3-1 right now, if I'm not mistaken, but map count wise, 100 Thieves has looked like a more put together team. And if EG just did that to Crew's mental is going to be tested because 100 Thieves is about to do them dirty.
I could see it. I think this is a really tough pick for me. I did pick Crew because, I mean, I don't know. I've kind of liked them more, to be honest with you, throughout this whole season. Like, I just like their vibe. I really like how they're overperformed from how I've seen them. I really thought 100 Thieves would be that team behind Sentinels to perform.
Yeah.
I've really joined the Crew bandwagon and picked them.
There you go. I'm with you. I like Crew against them. 100 Thieves has not really, I mean, they've done well, but they don't look amazing. And I don't think that one loss is going to be able to affect their mental enough to be able to slow them down. So that's just me though, Kep, okay? We can disagree on this. And then G2 is obviously an easy one for all of us. You know? Hey, G2 is going to take it down. I would imagine the next two are game 4 and 5. So the 2 matches there, which are the CDL matches. So I'm going to start with you first, Davis. We have FaZe versus Falcons, and then Surge versus C9. Actually, it's probably all 3 of it. It's probably all the CDL ones. So the third match is Rocker and Heretic. So give me your 3 for Call of Duty.
Yeah, so my 3 are going to be FaZe, Cloud9, and Miami Heretics.
He's got FaZe, Cloud9, and Miami Heretics. Kepley, what you got?
I picked Falcons.
Ooh.
I picked Surge, and I picked Heretics.
All right, I've got FaZe, Surge, Heretics, and then Chris.
I have FaZe, C9, Heretics.
Oh, there you go. Okay, cool. So Falcons first for you, Kepley. What's going on there, huh? No FaZe for you?
FaZe kind of disappointed me a little bit last week. I do think FaZe is a great team on land, but online they seem to slip a little bit. Now, the big thing here is, is FaZe going to be a little extra motivated so they can get into that winner's bracket spot, that top 8? But Falcons, they're right now with this new roster, they're 4-1 in hardpoint, if I'm not mistaken, right? So I do think that they contend with FaZe and take those 2 hardpoints. And I think that roster is good enough from ring count wise that they could sneak in maybe 1 Surge, and if not, they'll take the control away. I think they're going to sneak this away from FaZe here. But Falcons are on the upcome, man. I mean, what can I say? Davis made a believer out of me.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't see it happening this week, mainly because of the thing that you said. I think FaZe is going to be really locked in on securing their spot in the winner's bracket for this major. And, FaZe is just the team for me. They have been for the last few years. Like you said, they are the kings of LAN. And to be honest, they're the kings of Call of Duty for the last few years. And when it comes down to it, they get it done. They need to make winner's bracket to make a better chance at this major. I think they'll do it.
The Falcons just aren't that good. They're not going to beat FaZe. I don't see it. It's not going to happen. Okay, let's go to the next match. We got the Cloud9 versus Surge. Obviously, we're split. Let's go, Kep. There we go. Surge up, baby.
Let's go, dude. Camera's not on, so I didn't see that fail. Fist in the high five.
There you go. Cloud9 is not, I want them to win. I would actually root for Cloud9 for this. I'd love to pick C9. And they are, I think it will actually be a close match, but Cloud9 has not clutched up. They're towards the bottom of the leaderboard. They need to win really bad, and the Surge look really, really good. I'm not betting against Mr. Neptune himself. I don't know, Davis. What do you think?
I think it's super close as well. I did pick Cloud9. I'm a really big fan of Sib. I'm a big fan of Attach as well. He's a veteran player. And I think they're a very good team that's underperformed this year. I'm looking at them to really make a run as champs comes closer and closer. This would be a big match for them to take a win away from a team that's, really high up the bracket and has been playing very well. So I think it's a little bit of a hopeful pick from me. I'm hopeful that C9 wins. Surge probably the better team on paper, but yeah, that's who I went with.
Yeah, Chris, why?
I think it's following what Davis said. I think they are going to clutch up. I think they know they need to clutch up, and this is going to be the one time that they do clutch up here. I don't know if the success will follow after it, but I think they might be able to find the win this weekend, and might be able to actually, find a way to, get that win and then maybe carry a little momentum going into it.
My heart is with you. My heart is with C9, but my head is with the Surge. Kepley said it himself. You just kicked that one to the side. All of us love the Heretics over the Rocker. I guess we're not believers in Kenny. He hasn't won the Game 5s since he got on the roster.
Heretics just look too good, man. I mean, Rocker is like a needle in a haystack away from being able to do good stuff, but I don't know. Heretics just look super solid. I think they're going to carry that momentum all the way.
All right, Heretics it is. Last but certainly not least, we're going to look at our League of Legends section. I'm going to start with you, Chris. C9 versus TL and Lion versus 100 Thieves.
I have C9 and 100 Thieves.
I have Team Liquid and Lion. That's not a lion. Roar! Go ahead, Gab.
I got Cloud9 and Lion.
Cloud9 and Lion, okay.
And I am Team Liquid, 100 Thieves.
Wow, we are just across the board in a different place. Let me defend mine first because I let everybody else go first on the last one. Team Liquid made it to first stand. They're the best. They have Impact in the top. He's amazing in every way. I know you don't think he can lane swap and he's got weaknesses. I get it. I think they're going to pull it out. Team Lion has been amazing as well. I think that group has surprised me through and through, so that's why I picked those two. They're on my list. 100 Thieves can't pull it out on the back end of it. Chris, you go next.
Yeah, I don't agree. So,
Chris and I are total opposites on our picks, just so we're clear.
They have Impact, but C9 have Thanatos.
No, it's not.
I believe Thanatos is a much better player right now. I do not think APA will be able to keep up with Loki as well. And I think those two lanes are going to win it. Plus, Jan's really good, but I don't know if he'll be able to completely carry Umpty as well against Blabber. And Blabber's been looking solid. Not the best, not the worst. He's always just been a solid player. So that's my reason for C9. 100 Thieves, I'm going to just go ahead and say it. They have had the stronger strength of schedule. Lion has played against the bottom 3 teams and then lost versus Team Liquid, which means that they have not been able to prove themselves against the top 4 team yet. And 100 Thieves have beat C9. So I'm going to go with 100 Thieves because I think that they have, the knowledge gameplay to be able to beat the top teams, whereas Lions still have yet to prove themselves.
There you go.
I'm going to go ahead and jump in, actually, because literally my explanation for my 2 teams can be summed up Liquid by what CJ said, and for 100 Thieves for what Chris said.
You're just riding the bandwagon, dude.
No, I'm not riding the bandwagon.
He split it 50-50. He can't be on either of our sides. Okay, he split it 50-50.
That is actually so true, though. I mean, 100 Thieves, I picked them simply because I don't think Lion has really played anybody yet to really test them. I don't think that I think they've overperformed for what, coming into the match or coming into the season. I did not think they would be winning games really at all. So they've kind of overperformed from what I thought. But I do think 100 Thieves has had the harder strength of schedule, has been tested more, and I think they'll come out on top. Kind of like what you said about Liquid. I'm a really big fan of Impact. I think that he'll be able to make some plays around the map, and I think they'll sneak out with it.
Go ahead, Chris. Not Chris. Kepley.
Well, I just want to say that I full-heartedly agree with Chris on everything he said about Cloud9. That was beautiful because Impact sucks. He's not good. The only thing he didn't bring up is that this split, previously FBI has been one of the best AD carries in the league, but Sven has just looked out of his mind this split. So I just think Cloud9 is all around the board better. Lion, I am tired of the disrespect being put on Lion's name, and Lion is going to prove it here against 100 Thieves, and they're going to shut up these haters because this team looks too good to be doubted. I have them actually, it's not on here, but I have them not only beating 100 Thieves, but also beating FlyQuest.
Can't believe you doubt the Licorice, okay? You doubt Licorice.
Licorice is going against Whippo.
They're only beating FlyQuest because FlyQuest.
He's going to get smacked around. Whippo was running it down disrespectfully last week because he was just having such a fun time on that Scion. If he takes it any little bit seriously, he's just going to roll over Licorice right there.
Listen, exactly. And is he going to take it seriously? No.
Yeah,
the Licorice man is going to slay him. He's going to be in the top. It's not going to be close. They're going to lose the pick ban. They're going to win the match.
They have to prove
We'll
themselves.
see you on Monday, and we'll see what happened, okay? You, Chris, you come back here on Monday. We'll talk
If they
about
prove
it.
themselves versus them, I'll believe. But right now, they have to beat one of the top teams for me to believe.
I'm in the same boat.
Licorice has been so good in North America for so long. It's just ridiculous that he still gets disrespect.
Until
even,
last week.
Even back in the day on TSM, busting out the Hecarim top lane, Licorice is a GOAT, man.
0 kills last week versus Liquid. He has to prove himself versus a top team and a top laner. First,
we'll
then
see
I
Monday.
will believe
We
it.
see Monday.
We see Monday. But
Where's it at, dude? I want to use the sign.
Clutch that. Hey, Clutch. Let's go Lions. Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. Next segment coming up, clutch or kick. We've got 5 different topics today. How it goes is somebody introduces the topic. We throw out the kick sign if we think you should kick it. We throw out the clutch sign if you should clutch it. So clutch or kick. We're going to start around the room. We got one for you first. Chris, this is yours. We're looking at 6-man rosters. Go ahead, production. Show us the tweet. What is the FlyQuest guys saying, Chris?
Yes, so FlyQuest have said secret out. Well, they confirmed that Geckos from the Turkish Challenger League will be going over to FlyQuest summer split, so most likely after MSI, but it will be sharing a roster spot with Whippo now. Yeah. Whippo, in my opinion, one of the top laners for a while. North America does very well. It's really hard for me to see this working out because it doesn't really work out right now, in my opinion. The only team that I've seen a 6-man roster work out for is CFO, and they have said that it takes a lot for it to happen, and their coach has put in a lot of work for it to happen. It does not work for T1 right now, as we can see. They're, it's one or the other. They're not playing them to their full strength, and I do not think it will work unless it is for Whippo saying that he is exiting within a couple of years, and they're just trying to have this player come in to, learn basically.
Yep, I'm going to clutch this one for me. This one, I think, is going to be the future of what League of Legends is. I think with the Fearless draft, people are going to have different weaknesses. You're going to switch a lot of players out as you go into different matches. So for me, it's a clutch. Kepley!
You want to go first or me?
Yeah, I'll go first. So for me, it is a kick. I'm kind of on the same path as Chris. I think it becomes really tough for the player himself. As a person that competes in esports, you want to play in every match, and you want to be the person that impacts the match. You want to make the difference for your team. And I think it would take a really special person to be able to take a back seat and sit there and allow another person to come in and maybe take a little bit of your shine. Be seen as a better option at times to fit in different situations. So I do think it's going to be a little bit more toxic than maybe a good thing. It could work out, like I said, if you have a very special person that's willing to kind of step back and be like, hey, you can play in my place type of thing. If we are faced with this certain situation, might be good, but I just see it being too toxic for the players.
Kepley, tell these men what they're doing wrong.
I expect this type of answer out of Davis, but guys, Chris is on tie. He is our league specialist here, and he's doubting the 6-man roster when the literal #1 greatest player of all time was forged because of a 6-man roster, Faker. And everyone forgets the history that Faker was almost out of SKT. EasyHoon came in. Faker couldn't play control mages. EasyHoon could play control mages, and because of EasyHoon, it molded Faker into the player that we are today. We are so close to a timeline where Faker's not there for all those rings. Faker's name is EasyHoon, who's now a coach over there. We see CFO at First Stand execute this with perfection. We're North America. We just suck. It doesn't matter that it's the 6-man roster.
You just answered your own question there. It's EasyHoon or Faker at the point. It would have only been one or the other at the end of the day. Yep. It doesn't mean that 6-man roster would have lasted, and it's not working. So if it's not working right now for T1,
sign it up, Chris. Me, Hardstuck. We're throwing down.
We're throwing down. I don't think it works, as you said, and as a lot of pro players have already said themselves, is that you get put into that situation, you are essentially fighting for it. It doesn't feel like you're worth it to a lot of players when you have that 6th person in your role. And then when you don't feel worth it, you're not going to perform. And yes, maybe we can swap off for players, but it has to come at a point where the player knows that they're worth. Right now, I don't think coaches, except for CFO's coach, is the only exception to where they can make their players feel worth. Right now, the best team in the world cannot make either of their AD carries feel worth it right now.
Well, here, let me concede one point to you. I think it's role dependent because an AD carry, right? You're looking at Guma, you're looking at Smash. An AD carry pool is an AD carry pool. You're not going to get a lot of variance there. The reason it works so much for Faker and EasyHoon is because Mages, there's a lot of diversity, a lot of champ pools you can come from there. I would argue the same thing in top lane. What do I say about Impact? Every week we talk about Liquid on this show. Impact is a tank player. You cannot put that man on a carry. You can't put him on an Aatrox. You can't put him on a Jax and he pop off. If you get another top laner that can do that, brother, swap them in. The other team's going to see it from a mile away that Aatrox is about to run it down.
For me, it's always going to be mental for this. Until they can make all the players who have to share that roster spot feel like they are worth it and that they are still, part of the team, starter or not, it's not going to work.
Chris
And I don't think they
Celecia,
have-
hot topic, doubts Faker's mental ability.
No, I'm in the
That's
same
the
boat.
sub. That's
I'll
the
let Davis go.
headline.
I'll let Davis go. I'll let Davis
I'm
go.
in the same boat as Chris because I think it's like he's saying, you know, Faker is a special person. Faker was forged into the GOAT because his spot was about to be on the line. He wasn't going to be playing anymore. There was only going to be 5 players and he was going to be excluded. He stepped up to the plate and became the best player ever. If they would have introduced that man and been like, hey, Faker, you're going to swap in and out, you and this guy, depending on what's picked in the game, we might play you, we might not. Faker's going to be like, dude, what? I'm the best player in the world. I'll find somebody that wants me and that will appreciate me.
And they did that, exactly what you just described, for great success the whole year, right? Faker himself just said, I need to be more than an assassin player. It led him down the path where he became known for Rise. He became known for Azir. Because before, Faker couldn't pick Azir. That's where you needed EasyHoon, right? So Faker evolved. He made EasyHoon better. EasyHoon now is one of the greatest coaches in Korea at this moment. So, like, there's all kinds of wins here, right, in this scenario. Yeah, sure, there will be bad examples. Guma, Smash, because an 80 carry. Ash is Ash.
The only good example
Is the GOAT.
is the GOAT right
Yeah,
now. And
I
maybe
agree.
CFO. I
CFO.
just don't think too many players right now would be willing to give up a spot where they could potentially play or not play. I think most players, if it comes down to it and they were put in the situation and another good team, like say Genji, like we're just going to throw this out here just for the sake of, you know, if like Genji needed an 80 carry replacement and they went to Guma and said, you're not playing, do you want to come to us? He would automatically pick that and go at a snap, right? Because he wants to play every single game because he wants to show his worth. And I think that's where the state of league is right now. You know, it's not traditional sports. We don't sub people off because they get tired and we need them to play consistent minutes and be physical. You know, we are saying that we're doing it because of champion pool right now. Well, that's just saying that you're not good enough.
Yep.
And that's going to hit their mental. I just think it's
Yep. That's exactly where I'm at. It's basically like saying you're not good enough to do this, so we're picking up somebody else to pick up your slack. And if I'm the guy, I'm like, what?
But if there's a guy who I don't think has that mindset, it's Blippo. Right?
Yeah,
'Cause
100%, I agree.
Because
100%.
Blippo understands that Blippo's a niche person. He's a niche character. And he has mentioned before he has aspirations to one day be a coach, right? So I think he'd be one of the greatest coaches we've ever seen because he's
true.
all right. And
will
I think that he's going to be.
He's gonna.
Yeah.
I will clutch that right there.
I
will too.
I think he is going to take this guy and he is going to mold him into a fantastic player. And I can't wait to see that.
I agree with that 100%. I think Whippo is that type of person that I'm talking about that is willing to sacrifice and teach the person with him.
Right.
I would say that the only reason I clutch this is because I think it's not about what the individual player wants. I think it's the NFL model is you have 3 quarterbacks and sometimes the second string has to show up for whatever reason. And you're right, sometimes the second string wants to be the first string, so they get traded, they go to a new team, and that's okay. But I think having depth in every single lane is a good thing. So
I think if they try to do that, they'll end up just like the Panthers, and it ain't gonna work.
whoa, all right. Time
All right,
out.
Panthers,
Whoa.
Bro, this came for the throat.
You
What are we doing?
So you keep that first string going
our
and let
team,
them
bro.
learn. Well, you know, the Panthers, they tried to put the second string in. You put that first string back in, and he starts looking good, and the Panthers start looking a little bit better. It's because you're giving him the experience. And
We'll see you on the next show, Bryce Young, okay? I got you.
yeah, we get Bryce Young in here. I'll tell him I'm happy with it.
We're inviting Bryce Young to the next Hard Stuck. It's going to be me and Bryce against
There
Chris.
you go.
Oh, no, I'm Bryce fan. I like
Hey,
Bryce. I want him to stay in. I want them to play Bryce. I want him to get better because I think he'll be good.
That's right. All right, okay, next one. Here we go. Karma's got something to say about old CDL equipment that the players are using provided by the league.
I mean, there's 2 huge things I think need to be improved. I think the league equipment needs to be improved, bro. Like they're on fucking ancient ass computers at this point. I don't care what anyone says. Since Cold War, how many years is that since Cold War? However many years that is fucking a long time in the PC spectacle world. That's a long time. That is like one thing that I think they gotta change that. I don't care. Like the other day, for whatever reason, bro, I think on Vault, you average probably like 200 frames or something. Dude, Ant like didn't even realize it, and he was getting like 150. He goes, money, he's getting 150. Everyone else getting 200. No fucking idea why. 4 years, I don't know. And I don't even know if that's like asking too much. I really don't know. Does it need to be top of the line shit? I mean, in a perfect world, yeah. But
Two guys grass, both weak guys. One's red trench weak precision.
I just think a lot of things have changed in 4 years. I think the hardware definitely should be updated. Yeah, they're literally like dinosaurs.
Are they dinosaurs, clutch or kick? Should the league provide new equipment every year? Or should they come up with some kind of deal? You know, ultimately the question is, should we play on new equipment every year? Who covers that cost, I think, is not really, you know, it could be the league, could be the players, whatever. So I'll go first since it's my topic. I think the league should cover the equipment, so.
Wouldn't that be a clutch?
I guess it could be a clutch.
I feel like it's a clutch.
Okay, it's a clutch, right? Yes. We love Damon's perspective. We think that the league should cover new PCs. Players should play on the latest and greatest. It is interesting to me, though, that this is part of the conversation because there's actually been a lot of drama that came around like Kenny and his PC and what was messed up with it and blah, 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 blah. But I do think that there needs to be, this is a good opinion. Damon is right. They need to be able to upgrade equipment more often. Davis, you go next.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting as well. I'm saying it's a clutch. And kind of like he said, it doesn't have to be the newest top of the line equipment. But I think, you know, when you look at it, every couple years, you should definitely be upgrading. I think he said maybe 4 years since they had done the last upgrade. So, I mean, a lot of stuff's changed. A lot of new technology's out. And the biggest thing for me is like all these guys, probably what they're playing on at their personal setups are a lot better than what they're playing on at LAN, most likely at this time. If they haven't upgraded at LANs in 4 years, most of these guys that are professionals have probably invested in a better personal computer for themselves. So I think you just kind of run into some trouble bouncing between a new gen back to the old gen PC. So ideally, in a perfect world, the league would cover that cost and they would have new equipment.
Kep.
I'm going to let you guys, because I have a take here, I'm going to let you tell me if I am clutching or kicking. Okay? So first off, it's Call of Duty, guys. Kick the PCs away. Clutch it, replace it with PS5. Oh my God, you solved all your issues. Everyone's on the same exact thing. It's Call of Duty. Doesn't need to be that fancy. I don't even know why you guys are on PC. Yeah, maybe production to spectate the lobbies wants to be on PC. Then they can manage their own equipment. And you know what? The PS5 that Karma plays at home or that Kenny plays in the office or that Kenny goes to play on stage, it's all the same, baby. Woo, you just neutralized the problem and you saved yourself a ton of money. I don't know. Easy fix for me.
There you go. All right, Chris.
Well, as far as the technology goes, I will say clutch. Replace it. 4 years is too long for technology. I know we put out stuff every year. Maybe not every year it has to come out, but 4 years is a long time, though, as well in technology terms. By that time, you know, we're pretty much way up in what we have now. So I think they should be replacing it. I think the league should be doing it because, you know, that's, you know, they're coming to play, you know, and as they need to provide, you know, at least within 1 or 2 years of that upgrade. So like if it's not, you know, most current, it should be at least last gen. So
especially for what? Like what's the team buy? $20 million or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, getting new PCs, it's like, I feel like personally, I get a new PC every 5 to 6 years, and so that would just be me on a personal basis. And that is because of technology. The graphics cards are updated all the time, you know, the new processor, whatever. And games are more complicated every year, especially Call of Duty. Call of Duty is a really intensive game to run, so if you are going to run that game, you do need to upgrade your equipment often. I think that's something they should do. I think this is a super clutch from all of us. I think everyone agrees that you should have the equipment that is standardized and new every year, even if it is a new PlayStation.
Well, yeah, and I don't understand why they shifted all to PC, right? So it could just be ignorance on my part, but it just feels like, you know, the common situation there, the topic that it used to be was, well, this was created and devved and built on PlayStation or Xbox, whatever the partnership is at the time, and then now you've ported it to PC, which is where you get all these issues. And I just don't know why there's this weird stigma around being on consoles. Like, it just simplifies the process for everyone.
In my opinion on that, I think it was really just an awkward time and crossroad to where like they knew that they couldn't really play on the PS4 anymore because of the processing power of it, but there wasn't an option of a PS5 yet when they went over and went to PC. So I think that's ultimately the reason is like they looked at it and were like, well, our only option to get better is to go to PC. I really like your take though. I mean, I think that would be perfect, to be honest. Now that there is options available like that, go back to PlayStation, keeps everybody on the same level playing field. Call of Duty is a game that was built on console. It just feels right.
Yeah, or, you know, I think if I remember right, Microsoft just got the deals with Activision. So now, like, all the Call of Duties will be on Game Pass, right, going forward. So if it's not a PlayStation, do it on Xbox, right? They're both great systems. Right?
Yeah,
so,
as long as it's the same. I think part of it is having a standard of good equipment. And so what is that standard? Totally agree. All right, cool. Davis, you're up next. Go ahead.
Yeah, so next we're going to be talking about Envy, the org. And Hastro, who is the CEO of Envy, has came out a couple days ago and said we have to get Envy back into Counter-Strike. They have begun exploring all opportunities and will jump on the right one when we find it. So my question to you guys, do you, basically a clutch would be yes, I do think Envy should invest their time into Counter-Strike, and a kick would be no, I do not think they should be investing into another esport. They should stay focused on the ones they are in. So I'm going to start out, and I think it's a clutch. I do think it's kind of it can be seen as a kick because, in my opinion, the Counter-Strike community is just so broad. There are so many teams out there. It's really hard to fight your way to the top. But it is Envy, a super well-known org, has a lot of funds behind them, and so I do think they will be able to rise to the top very quickly. Therefore, I am going to give it a clutch.
Cap.
I'm going to clutch up too. I
There
mean,
you go.
I'm clutching just because it's Hastro and Envy, right? There's not like, there's no real negative. As long as he can fund it, right? Then cool, go for it. I think it's good to have more competition. And Envy is an org that historically has been known for chasing championships. So I know that he's going to have winning in mind. And it's always good to see that, right? Elevate NA more.
Yeah, I mean Kenny S is one of the ones that was on Envy originally. So there's a plethora of history on the back there. Yeah.
Legend.
The
game.
Legend. That's right. You want me to go? You want to go?
I can go.
Go.
I was going to say, for me, it's clutch as well. But the reason I'm clutching is because of what Kepley's saying. I do think they would at least try to make a championship team, not just get in just to get in, right? Yeah. If, I thought that was the case, it probably would have been a kick for me. But I do think they'll try to chase the championship team, which, of course, is always great for the scene. So I am a clutch.
I'm with you. Clutch it up. That's right. Get into Counter-Strike. I think you have to do it the right way. I think he is. I love that his statement is a little bit more based around the fact that it's the right timing, right? Because I think you can end up with a bad roster and it can be not good for your whole team. And so I think they do need to wait for the right spot. But I think when they find the right spot, it'll be good. Only if the money is there. I don't know. I mean, this was years ago when I saw some Counter-Strike contracts. So it's been 2 or 3 years, but they were $12,000 to $15,000 a player, right? So we're talking about upwards of $80,000 a month to be able to, just have the salaries of the team, not all the other stuff, not the travel, whatnot. You have to win events. And so that only pays for itself with the sponsors and with the events that are going to. So if you're not winning, it doesn't make sense. And that's probably why he's waiting, is because he needs to win in order to get there. So we'd love to see him get in the scene, but it's got to be at the right time.
Someone take down Vitality.
That's right. We need somebody to take down Vitality. There you go. But they can't beat the Mongols,
baby.
Not the Mongols.
Yeah,
You can beat Vitality, not the Mongols, all right?
Yeah.
Okay, Kepley, go ahead.
Yeah, so mine is a little bit interesting. So Patreon is creating a streaming space for their services. So essentially what they're doing is saying, hey, you can now offer this for your folks. You'll have live chat and emojis. There's mod tools. It's got the same integration with OBS, etc. And you can download your VODs, right? So we see streaming platforms kind of on the rise, right? We got Kick, we got YouTube. We had, I don't even remember what the Microsoft one was called before it failed.
Oh my God.
Mixer.
Yep,
yeah,
the Mixer days. Get in the bag from Mixer.
Yeah. So kind of clutch your kick here, right? So clutch is, right, you kind of support the Patreons creating another way to, I'm going to be a little harsh in my word here, divide your community, right? Because right now you have YouTube memberships, which seem to offer the same benefits as this Patreon, and you have the whole infrastructure and all that at Google and blah, blah, blah. But Patreon is a place that could enable, right, other revenues. So I'm seeing a world where, if we try to tie it back to esports, right? What if you're like, we'll use the LCS. LCS starts a Patreon, you sub to Patreon, $5-10 a month, and you get to see special showcase matches live on that platform only. So, using that kind of mindset, right? Do you think that's a good idea for Patreon to get into the business? Because keep in mind, they're going to have to support the servers, the infrastructure, all that, right? Or do you think it's a kick? They should just let their creators do that with YouTube memberships, etc. And then Patreon, they don't get that $5 a month or whatever, and however that divide is with those contracts. My topic, I'll go first. I think it's a kick. I just don't like that. I don't like the dividing of the community. I think there's too many streaming platforms these days. And I think that what we've seen with Twitch and what we've learned with YouTube is very expensive, man. And Patreon's such a good company overall that I would hate to see Patreon over leverage itself financially and collapse just because they want to support this niche of streaming.
Interesting. Go ahead.
I'm in that same boat. I think it's a kick for me as well. I'm basically just completely on the fence of I don't want any more platforms to be able to divide and look around. I want to just find a centralized place where I can see all my information, get all my games. I'm not a big fan of it.
Patreon's not big enough to be that centralized spot for you.
Yeah, no.
There you go. Chris?
Okay.
Ooh, wow. All right. Another kick. We all hate it.
Well, you know, they're completely right. And I don't see Patreon being able to, you know, what I see whenever I see these like streaming platforms come, it's just for people who have been like banned from others or not working on others. They try to go to these new ones. It creates a whole bunch of problems. When I saw this initially, I agree with Kepley. I think Patreon's a great service on its own for what it does. And I think that if you try to become more than what you are sometimes, especially in, you know, different type of services like this, then you kind of lose that identity of what you are. I think Patreon on its own is a really good platform. I think if you're trying to bust into streaming, especially when you have how big Twitch is, how big YouTube is getting, Facebook is actually fairly big itself. And then you have Kick, which is Kick. It's, you know, it's too much, right? And, you know, maybe someone does want to see something on a different site, right? But then, you know, he was talking about, you know, you see something from point of view from League, right? Well, they already do that on their website. They have the, you know, subscriptions that you can do. What you can do, end up paying like $30 across everything to try to see every different point on League, you know. I don't think it's a good idea.
I want to say this. I think it only makes sense for the business aspect. Like, obviously, they would want to do it because it could bring them more revenue and could bring more people to their website. Viewers don't want that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some numbers around. What this guy? He's another business guy, so I'm excited to see what he says about it. But go ahead.
Why not? It's a little business opportunity. Somebody's going to win. Somebody's going to become the biggest Patreon streamer. They're going to make some money doing it. I think if Patreon's willing to take the financial risk and somebody else is going to win as a streamer on the back end of it, I think that's cool. I think that the market is saturated. I think you can stream on everything from Facebook Live to X to whatever, to Twitch to Kick to what. I mean, literally everything, you know. And so I don't care that that there's a lot of market opportunities for it. I do care that somebody's a winner at the end, and I think somebody will become the top streamer on Patreon and make a lot of money. That's cool for them.
Yeah.
Could be you.
I agree with that. Patreon, just to me, they're competing with YouTube at this point, right? Because they're specifically competing with the YouTube memberships.
Sure.
With those memberships, you can do those like member exclusive streams or whatever, or videos. I just feel like Patreon, you kind of already did that with, you know, I subscribe to a guy on Patreon for food, for recipes, right? If he ever live streams, I'm never going to watch that.
You might.
If I do, I'll
you might. It's just you might click on there. I don't know. Like
The first recipe,
you'd be bored, you know. You're just
I'm
like,
just
maybe
there.
he's got a cool recipe. Who knows?
Shout out Zach Cohen. Great.
I burnt all of my recipe. I need to watch you make it now.
All right, last one. Here we go.
Last one. I did this one. I cheated.
Okay. Yeah.
I cheated. I did two.
You can
it was
do two,
against the
that's fine.
rules.
Yeah.
But this one's Marvel Rivals related, which, you know, it's a game that's got a lot of good wheels to it. So they just put out, I call them chromas in League, but they're recolors, right? They're recolors of skins. And so essentially what it is if you have certain skins, I started with 4 right now, you can go into game and you can use Lattice, which is the paid currency, and you can buy this recolor. It's $6 for the recolor.
Okay.
And also as an important note, when you play through the season, in the Battle Pass specifically, you earn 600 Lattice. So if you buy the Battle Pass for like $10 or whatever it is, there's like a premium one too, you will, throughout finishing the Battle Pass, earn enough to buy 1 recolor of a skin if you wanted it for a skin someone you like already.
Cool. What you got?
I'll start again. I kicked it. I keep picking stuff that I kicked. Listen, man, I hate chromas in League. I think they are like the biggest money scam of all time. You should be able to do this in game and earn it for free. And I put that point in there to see if it, you know, maybe swayed you guys. But even just because you have 600 Lattice in the Battle Pass isn't enough for me, because who's going to have that one specific skin that you have a recolor for and you already have a skin? You're going to just save up and buy something else probably. You should have enough in the Battle Pass to buy another Battle Pass.
Chris.
I'm the same because I came from League also. The last chroma I bought was Shamrock Malphite. Back when they only recolored, the skins were basically just recolors for champions. But now you can just buy them with Blue Essence in the Blue Essence Emporium when it comes out, and it's totally free. Why would you spend money to get, you know, different color skin? $6 is a scam. It's hard. You already have the skin. Why do you need a different color for it?
Davis.
Kick. Absolute scam. I'm the same way with chromas. Just never been into them. I've never bought one on League just because I'm like, why would you do that? I just bought the skin. I'm on the same thing as you, though. If you're only getting 600 points through this battle pass, like in my opinion, the biggest thing about battle pass is they're earning the points to buy the next one. So you don't have to continue to buy it and buy it. Why would I spend my 600 points on changing my skin from blue to purple and miss out on getting the next battle pass?
It's probably so like for people like that you have to buy one in every 2 because Fortnite made that system popular with the V-Bucks, but it's just not the standard these days.
Boo! I'm not a skin guy. I don't buy any skins. I think it's lame. I think it's just a scam to get some money out of me. I like the idea of people making money. I think it's cool that it props up games. Dota's a great example. They make millions of dollars of the prize pool. We have Counter-Strike with keys. This is their monetary model. I'm not in love with it. Colors are cool. Whatever. Kick it. Get out.
A lot of people are like okay with it because they're like, oh, if Overwatch did it, it costs $20 for the recolor. And I'm like, guys, there's a game that does that. It's called Valorant with Radianite points, right? You got to spend like $50 to get Radianite points or something.
You can buy this cool skin, but it's only cool if you buy Radianite with it too to upgrade it.
Yeah.
Super kick. Get it out of here. We don't care about your dumb colors. Your game's not great either. So there you go. On to the next. That's going to do it today for Queued Up. Thanks for joining us in our ranked lobby. If you want to get involved in the conversation, go ahead, jump down below, like, subscribe. We appreciate it. We would greatly appreciate you if you did that for us. It takes just a second. It's very easy to do, but that's going to do it. Thanks for joining us. We will see you again on Monday. Bye-bye.
Kick Chris out of here. Go yell at him on Ty.
Ty is a clutch.